Hello, everybody. Audrey with Movies and the Bible. I've been trying to start a different channel called Audrey's Variety Show. Sorry, my voice is going out. For strictly just the Bible studies and more Bible related content about righteous living. So, if you like this style of studying and teaching, please be sure to share and comment and subscribe to help the algorithm reach more people who would enjoy this kind of content. And some things that I wanted to pose before we get started with Proverbs 20 are do you have integrity in your business practices and in your buying and selling? Or are you always looking for a good deal or trying to get over on or shortchange someone on what you pay or don't pay for any given thing? Um, what sorry what are some good qualities of a leader? What does a good leader look like? As well as what are you saying good things or are saying that you're doing a good thing, but aren't doing the actions of a good thing? Some stuff like that. Um, are you really a good person? Are you really doing what you say that you're doing? um, you know, Being more honest and having integrity about, you know, this walk that God has us on when we are trying to live for Him. Are you doing it to the best of your ability? Because we all fall short of it. I do every day. I know that much. But doing our best to live holy and righteous lives. But yeah, those are just a couple of questions to think about and ponder. And let's go ahead and start the study. All right. It's been a few minutes since I've done one of these, but I have a couple of them prepared. But let's go ahead and get started with our books of wisdom for Proverbs 20 by always inviting the Holy Spirit in to open up our minds up to His wisdom and His teaching through His Word, and point out anything to me as I'm speaking and going over the Word and what I found in the study to you all, and let Him intercede at any time and interject at any time to drop more good knowledge, more good insight about His Word to us. So, as always, we are going to start with reading the entirety of the Bible, the New King James Version. But I will say that for me, reading the Message Bible at parts was very beneficial. It helped me to understand the text a lot more. Sometimes the New King James Version is a little bit. Some of the words that they use are a little too outdated. I want to say that a little too hard to understand. But anyways, Proverbs 20 verse 1. Wine is a mocker, strong drink is a brawler, and whoever has led astray by it is not wise. The wrath of the king is like a roaring lion. Whoever provokes him in anger is sins against his own life. It's honorable for a man to stop striving, since any fool can start a quarrel. A lazy man will not plow because of the winter. He will beg during the harvest and have nothing. Counsel of the heart is what makes is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. Most men will proclaim each of his goodness, but who can find a faithful man? The righteous man walks in his integrity. His children are blessed after him. A king who sits on the throne of judgment scatters all evil with his eyes. Who can say, I have made my heart clean. I am pure from my sin. Diverse weights and diverse measures, they are both alike an abomination to the Lord. Even the child is known by his deeds, whether what he likes is pure and right. The hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord has made them both. Do not love sleep, lest you come to poverty. Open your eyes, and you will be satisfied with bread. It is good for nothing, cries the buyer. But when he has gone his way, then he boasts. There is an old and multitude of rubies, but the lips of knowledge are like precious jewels. Take the garment of those who are surety for a stranger, and hold it as a pledge when it is for the seductress. Bread gained by deceit is sweet to a man, but afterwards his mouth will be filled with grovel. Verse 18. Plans are established by counsel, by wise counsel rage war. But he who goes about as a table bearer reveals secrets. Therefore do not associate with one who flatters with his lips. Whoever curses his father or his mother, his lamp will be put out in deep darkness. An inheritance and gain hastily at the beginning will not be blessed at the end. Do not say, I will recompense evil. Wait for the Lord, and he will save you. Diverse weights are an abomination to the Lord, and dishonest scales are not good. A man's steps are for the Lord. How then can a man understand his own way? Verse 25. It's a snare for a man to devote rashly something as holy, and afterward to reconsider his vows. A wise king sifts out the wicked, and brings the threshing wheel over them. The spirit of the man is the lamp of the Lord, searching all in the inner depths of his heart. Mercy and truth preserve the king, and by loving kindness he upholds his throne. The glory of men is their strength, and their splendor of old is their gray head. Vows that hurt and cleanse the evil away, as do stripes in inner depths of the heart. All right, that was Proverbs 20 in its entirety. So now we get to the good stuff of studying line upon line the verses. So here we have Solomon talking about drunkenness, essentially, and verses 1 through 3. And we all know that being intoxicated, is never a good thing. That's not something God wants for us. Um, and it leads to bad behavior, as we see here. When you're drinking wine, you mock people and make fun of people, and a stronger drink, a stronger alcohol can lead to fights. And so it's not wise to allow your drinking to lead into that. And then in verse 2, hot-headed people in authority are always trouble. So always make sure that you are doing the right thing at all times around these types of people in authority, because they're looking for something. They're looking for something to say or something to do to another person. So make sure that you are doing things the right and correct way to keep yourself out of grief and strife with that person. Verse 4 through 10 is quite a bit of a chunk here, but um, notably in verse 6, a lot of people talk the talk but don't walk the walk, and we have to practice what God is teaching us to do, not what we preach, but what God preaches, and He's telling us how to live and be and act through His Word, and that's what we should be practicing. Um, when we're honest and then it goes on. It kind of switches gears here, and as we get further into this, we're going to see, like in verse 10, um, it's talking about business practices and transactions and buying and selling. So don't get tripped up with that. With it just kind of makes because it talks about integrity and and all of that, and having a clean and pure, all this type of stuff. But summarized to say that that should also follow you in your buying and selling and business practices. Um, in verse 10, and it's just be honest and truthful about what you're doing in your business. Don't price gouge, don't overcharge people, don't shortchange people. God is not like that. And as you see V for Vendetta here, because he was somewhat hypocritical with how he chose to save the city, so to speak. But and that's why I put that there for um, because I thought it was kind of fitting. If you never seen V for Vendetta, it might go over your head, but it was kind of nonsensical. But anyways, let's move on. All right, verses 11 through 15. Um, for these, I wrote down. Actions reveal your character more than words. And when we have, even with children, their obedience to authority, their diligence in learning and getting their schooling done, says a lot about that particular child and their child and how they're progressing and developing into a good person that's going to be productive in society. And God sees and hears everything. There's no You're not hiding anything from God. So no matter what it is that we're doing at any given moment. And once again, um, in verse 14, we start talking about um, the buying and selling again, the business practices again. And this person is a buyer, and he's haggling down a price. He's haggling down a price and saying like, this ain't worth as much as you say it is worth. I'll buy it off of you. I'll do you this favor of buying it off of you for less than what it's worth, essentially. And the seller might think, oh, settling for it, or might get gypped out of a cost. But that's how the marketplace is sometimes. It's not always, fair. And then always in verse 15, we always acknowledge that God's wisdom is worth more than any amount of money on earth. It'll keep you on the straight path, which we have gone over time and time again, um, in Proverbs. And here you have Erin Brockovich. If you don't have no clue who Erin Brockovich is, she is an activist for good business practices, essentially. Um, it's a good movie, and her life is really interesting because she had no knowledge of what she was fighting for, and she learned that knowledge to fight for people because the water was contaminated. But I'm not going to go through a synopsis on a movie in a Bible study, but that's essentially the gist. All right. And then verse 16 through 22, um, verses 16 and 17, these verses speak about business transactions again. And when we um, when we buy and sell things, um, buying and selling things, it's always better to get what you've earned. It's more fulfilling and satisfying to get what we've earned than to think that we're getting over on someone by stealing or seducing someone out of stuff. Doing a favor for a favor. It's always better and more gratifying to get what we have earned in life. It's more fulfilling to your soul, at least to me. And then in verses I think 18 and 19 are kind of self-explanatory by now, but we'll just go through some of them really quickly here. Um, uh, Verse 19, um, essentially that's talking about gossip. Don't associate with those that always are running their mouth, who can't keep confidential things confidential. It just spells disaster and mess. Verse 20, I kind of got tripped up on what, like, it says a lamp will be put out into deeper darkness. So I went to the message version, what you see here highlighted in yellow, and it's essentially saying that when you curse your mother and father, who are especially when they're trying to raise you the right way, and you're just being disobedient and disrespectful, it's a moral degradation. It's very immoral, which is what benighted means. And oops, let me go back. Sorry. Um, we talked about this before in one of the earlier chapters. I don't know if it was Proverbs 12 or 13, but I do know that we talked about inheritance before, and there's plenty of case studies and stories about this, even movies about how people who wanted their inheritance really fast and felt entitled, um, it's not blessed. I mean, sometimes you're not mature enough for what's coming to you at certain times. That's what I feel as though I should say right now about that. And also in verse 22, um, vengeance belongs to God. I know everybody feels a certain type of way when they feel wronged, and feel justified, and that they should do something about it. But let God handle it, and let yourself see the goodness of the Lord by that, because he makes your enemies your friends, and you never know who he's going to use or who's watching and who's going to be a part of your vindication process. So let God have those things. Verses 23 through 27. Um, this one I kind of went line upon line for, instead of kind of like grouping everything together. So I'm just going to read what I wrote down. And verse 23, once again, God hates cheating in business. Verse 24, the best way that I found to look at this is with the Matthew Henry commentary. And God really keeps and protects us because we don't know what is going to happen next. We don't know what the future may hold. Nobody was expecting a pandemic, yet here we are, in one. So there's so much that we can't just, we don't know. So God is in control of that, and that's why I think it's posing that question. Because I was kind of like, why is it posing the question that how can a man understand his own way? And I think that question was posed to say, you don't know what's coming next, which is why you need God's protection and guidance in your life. That's what I got for verse 24. Verse 25. Be careful of the promises that you make to people, especially in the heat of the moment or whatever the case may be, or under duress, because it can spell trouble later. When you can't keep that promise, then what? And then, hold on. Oh, I think I lost my spot, folks. Think I lost my spot. Uh, hmm. Oh yeah, a wise leader and a wise person, weeds out the unruly and undesirables in the camp, just like with in Joshua, where he had to weed out some of the people in which he was, um, which were within the group for the war. It's the same thing with your group of friends and circles, and in business and in leadership. If people can't get on the program, and if people can't lead, um, lead. Follow directions and be a team player, you don't need them. You don't need them. um and I think that's really all I have to say for that. And Moses is a good example, I thought, of a leader in the trials and tribulations of being a leader, especially with hard-headed people. So, and that's what the Prince of Egypt is essentially about, the story of Moses. And then verse 28 through 30, the last few verses here. Good leadership is essentially is founded on mercy and truth and love. And we shouldn't, um, you know, think one is better than the other, what old or young. And when it talks about in verse 29, young men should be using your strength, um, you know, in in a in a way that is glorifying to God, and so should those of us in older age. We should be passing down knowledge and wisdom that's going to continue to allow people to be on the right path. And that's essentially it. And verse 30, which I kind of found a little bit jarring for here at the end of this, but verse 30 is essentially saying that there's different types of discipline for different types of people. That's essentially what it's talking about here. Um, Correction and chastisement and all of that comes in many different forms for different types of people. You're more hard-headed, stubborn people that just can't seem to get it, learn the lesson, um, need a different form of punishment or correction at times. And then we have Gladiator, who is also a leader of sorts, who was I would say more righteous than the king at the time, or the Caesar of Rome, or whatever it's called. So the summary and takeaway for Proverbs 20 is God hates unfair business practices. Good leaders are honest and kind, and actions speak louder than words. Those are some of the main takeaways and points that I was able to draw out from Proverbs 20. If something spoke to you, or if you learned something, or God, put something on your mind as we were going through this study, or in your own study, feel free to share it down below. Um, but that's all I have for this one. So be safe, be kind, be wise. I will see you next time. Bye bye.